As far as business goes, do you think this will be positive or negative having so many sequels in one summer?
I think for this summer it'll be positive. I think that the movies that are coming out, coincidence or not, these are solid sequels. We're talking sequels to Indiana Jones, which have been very popular films. We're talking sequels to a sequel to Ghostbusters, which was a very popular film. So these are going to do very well. I think the problem you're going to have is if next summer there's a further just an immense amount of sequels, you may find people tiring of the same formula, and that could be where the problem comes in.
What marketing strategies, or publicity strategies rather, has Paramount or TriStar actually new line in this situation? What have they discussed with you? I mean, how are they planning to get the word out?
Well, it's interesting. One of the ones I'm working on is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, and one of their key concerns is to position it away from another sequel, Friday the 13th, which is opening at this point a week before Nightmare. So it's a matter of getting the first punch in, basically, by striking before Friday the 13th does anything, if they do anything. That's the other thing, is trying to read how the two films will be marketed. Traditionally, Friday the 13th have basically had their very loyal followings, have opened and basically gotten the basic film gross that it's going to get. And Nightmare has trying to build up a larger audience because their following wasn't as big to begin with.
Now, Paramount originally had Friday the 13th scheduled for October.
Yeah, they moved it a couple times. It was August 4th, went to October, and is now back on August 4th.
Do you think that Halloween 5, which is also October, could have been a factor in the move?
It's possible. It's also that maybe there was if you break down the summer schedule, you can see how everything is kind of strategically placed apart. You're not going to have there's basically a good time for horror films and there's a good time for comedies. You're not going to have two of the major comedies up against each other. The action films, I think at one point the Bond film and Batman were up against each other, and they're now split apart. So there's obviously a big concern among the studios to try to open their film against, if it's going to have to open against a big competitor, might as well open against one that isn't drawing the same kind of audience. So.
What input do you have on the marketing? I mean, do they call you guys and say, well, what do you guys think, or publicity-wise, when should we do it? Or?
We get some kind of structure from our client, but on the other hand, we're also kind of the eyes and ears for the market. So if there's something specific going on that can lend itself to one of the movies we're working on, we'll try to tie in. Another movie I'm working on, which is not a sequel, is Babar the Movie, which is an animated film about the very popular elephant in kids' books. And one thing I want to do is to try to tie in with a local zoo like Lincoln Park and have people adopt an elephant where they can give money, and in return we'll get a free screening pass, for the movie.
With marketing decisions, or rather PR, or tours that people go on to promote the film, why have there not been that many for sequels? Why?
I think for the most part, the stars have become so big, their recognition is so big that they'll have junkets to either coast where the stars are there and all the press just fly out to meet them for a weekend, because the stars' time is so valuable and they're committed to so many different things. It's easier to have them together for one weekend as opposed to having them tour across the country for a week or two. It's just they don't have the time to do it.
How much money do they put into publicity?
There's a given budget for each film, and we don't get those figures, so I don't know offhand. But it's a very sizable amount. It can be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000.
What's your pick for this summer for the big film?
For the big film, I haven't seen any of them yet, so I'd have to go with Indiana Jones at this point. I think that's going to be the biggie.
Do you think it really has to do with the quality of the picture, or maybe just the name that will bring in the money?
The name will draw people initially, but it's going to be the quality that keeps them to come back, and that's the key.
Do you think the critics can hurt it?
Indiana Jones, not really. I mean, there's some films that are going to be more critically affected than others. I think Batman's a film that's going to open big no matter what. It's just going to be a matter of how good it is. Indiana Jones the same way. Ghostbusters, I don't think it matters at all what the critics say. People want to see Ghostbusters, they're going to go see it. Karate Kid 3 is one that I think is a little bit vulnerable to critics, because the second one wasn't as well received by the critics, and I don't think it was quite as well received at the box office. So the third one could suffer there.
Now, dealing with Karate Kid 3, as a matter of fact, or some sequels, in the case of Karate Kid 3, it seems that the storyline is a rehash of one. Mm-hmm. Do you find much originality in the sequels that you promote? Indiana
Jones, I can guarantee, is going to be an exciting new storyline. Star Trek 5, from what I hear, is a very vastly different storyline. The Ghostbusters, I don't know anything about. Batman is not really a sequel, I guess. It's a sequel to an idea. And I think that's going to be vastly different, too, from what I hear in terms of the personality that Batman is supposed to have.
All right.
So,
thanks.
You're welcome.